Okie dokie, so here we are with the next three books of the Night series by Janine Frost. Book 6 of Night Huntress, and then books 1 and 2 of Night Prince. Book 6 of Night Huntress is One Grave at a Time. So, yeah, book 6 for this one. Yeah, like I said before, this feels like a filler arc. I mean, the only thing it really does is sets up the villain for book 7, and he is honestly my least favorite type of villain. He is the corporate douche. He's just an asshole. I do not like this guy, but otherwise this story, it's very okay, but I don't think it really adds anything to the story. I mean, Cat and Bones' relationship is as stable as it's ever been. There's no big upheavals that happen to them in this story. You find out Bones is starting to get his telekinesis from Incaries. The power upgrade that he got, he's starting to get that, so that's neat. But otherwise, it's kind of them just running around ghost busting. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I can't say it's bad, but it is just, it feels like a filler arc. Yeah, I have nothing about it that I particularly loved, and nothing that I particularly hated about it. I'd honestly give this one like a 3 out of 5. It's definitely my least favorite out of the Night Huntress series, just because I don't think it really does anything for the series. Like, it doesn't really do anything for Cat and Bones. It's just, it kind of Oh, the one that is smooshed in here after One Grave at a Time in the first book of Night Prince, Once Burned, is the Home for the Holidays novella. I have read it before. Again, it's kind of just a short story. There's some demon shenanigans that it explains a couple new demon tricks, but nothing that doesn't get elaborated on again in future novels. The only thing you find out is that Ian and Bones are actually cousins, and you find out about who Bones' birth father was, his biological dad from the 1700s. It's okay. The only thing about it that stood out when I read it is that Kat and Ian end up making out in front of Bones because he gets body jacked by a demon to piss him off and bring him up to the front. And of course, Ian enjoys the crap out of it because it's Ian, and god damn it, I love him. He's such a roguish asshole that I absolutely adore him. So yeah, that one, it's enjoyable. Again, it's a novella. It's really short, so it's fine. So now getting into Night Prince. Here we go. So I'll start with our cast that we have now for this time. We have Vlad is now our hero. He is our main dude this time around. We have Layla, who is the love interest. As far as side characters go, we have Layla's sister and her dad. We also have her best friend Marty. And on the Vlad side of things, we've got Maximus, his right-hand man. Shrapnel is his other guy, and there's some other humans that hang out with Layla a little bit at Vlad's house. So, starting off with Once Burned, we meet Layla, who is our heroine, and you find out that she is a psychic, but not like psychics we've met before in this world who can see the ghosty goos. No, she is kind of an essence sensor that if she touches something or someone, she can see things, she can pick up essences of people and see the past, present, and future. Yeah, she's also electrokinetic in the worst possible way, that she just absolutely zaps the crap out of anything she touches. So that's kind of a downside for her. She's working as a acrobat performer with a carnival with her partner and best friend Marty, who is a vampire. He's cool. I like him. He's enjoyable. So she has a whole shenanigans go down where her powers get kind of exposed, and she becomes her 15 minutes of fame, and some vampires show up and go, "You're coming with us. You're gonna track someone down for us." And of course, who does she track down but Vlad? And when she finds him in the present, he's able to sense her because he is a mind reader, so he knows she's spying on him. He goes, "All right, well, not cool, bro, but I'm coming to get you and kill whoever is trying to find me." She ends up getting taken back to Romania, with him so he can interrogate her and find out who is after him and if she's spying on him. And well, she gets there, and when they get to Romania, she touches Vlad. Oh, the other thing with her powers is that the first time she touches someone, she sees their worst sin, whatever they regret the most. So for Vlad, she sees when his wife died, his first wife, when she committed suicide, and he found her body. So yeah, that's his biggest regret. So anyway, they get to Romania. And of course, there is chemistry and attraction between the two of them because she's Miss Sparky Sparky out of her right hand. And Vlad is the only one that can take the electricity because electricity can't burn him because he's fireproof, obviously, from his pyrokinesis. So there's some attraction there because he can touch her without any repercussions. Because vampires can touch her, but after like an hour of sustained contact, they start breaking out in like really bad burns. They say it looks like radiation burns because, yeah, she's just volting them with electricity the entire time she's in contact with them. But anyway, she touches Vlad and she ends up getting a vision of the future of them in the sack together. And she's just like, what? No, I would never, ever sleep with this guy. And Vlad is like, of course, he's a mind reader, so when she's actively using her psychic abilities, he can't read her mind, but of course, 20 seconds later, when she pops out of it, she's still thinking about it and embarrassed as hell. He's like, oh yeah, like, I've totally thought about it, like, you're hot. Yeah, would happen. I do you. And she's just like, what? No, I would never sleep with you. So he's like, all right, normal guest rules don't apply. Anybody here who wants to take a crack at you to get you in the sack is more than welcome to. Maximus, my good friend, are you down to bang her? And Maximus is like, yeah, totally. I'll take you out on a date, show you around the giant mansion. And she's like, okay. Just to prove Vlad wrong that she can be with somebody else. And this leads into my boy Maximus. Okay, I'll get into that in a minute. So they end up, she and Maximus, she's like, Maximus is such a sweet guy, but he's not Vlad. That's who I'm really DTF. So she and Maximus end up not hooking up. You find out that she decides to go work out in Vlad's gym, and she ends up hemorrhaging blood while talking to a bunch of his live-in donors. And she's like, what the fuck? You find out that her powers are actually killing her and that Marty has been secretly feeding her vampire blood in these health shakes for the last couple of years, or her powers would have killed her already because she's a fucking livewire. So yeah, she's like, what? So Vlad starts giving her his blood, and they end up in the sack together. Of course they do. And Vlad is like, I can give you monogamy, I can give you honesty, and I can give you more passion than you can stand, but nothing more than that. And Layla's like, all right, I'm down for that. And you're just going, and the countdown has begun to when she confesses that she's actually fallen in love with him. Not gonna lie, I got some 50 Shades flashbacks with this. Not in a good way. It's not nearly as bad as that, but just some of Vlad's, like, yeah. Sorry, it reminded me of that a little bit. So they end up sleeping together, and they start trying to track down the guy who is trying to kill Layla, go after Vlad, and you find out it's a person it couldn't possibly be. It couldn't possibly be this guy, Zilagi, because Vlad burned him alive a couple hundred years ago. Well, you find out that Zilagi actually faked his own death because, guess what? Zilagi is also a vampire who was sired by Tenok, and Tenok gave him some of his powers. So Zilagi is also a mind reader, and he has the ability to do the whole play possum desiccation trick. So Layla tries to spy on Zilagi, and Zilagi's like, betray Vlad, come and join me. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Shenanigans go on, and you find out that they're trying to figure out who is betraying Vlad. Someone's getting Zilagi information They find it unintentionally. Layla stumbles across who it is. She gets captured by one of Zilagi's right-hand men because she sends Zilagi a message like, "Oh, I'll betray Vlad. I'll come work for you. Vlad seduced me, but he's a dick. Let me come work for you." And so she ends up getting tortured for a little while, trying to prove, like, are you really coming to work with Zilagi, or are you just faking it and you're actually going to double cross us? But she ends up killing that guy, and she's going to go, and they fight Zilagi, and Vlad and Layla end up together at the end, and Zilagi goes full twirly mustache villain and goes, oh, because they end up at Vlad's old castle, Castle Ponari, I think is the name, where his first wife committed suicide, and Zilagi's like, how appropriate, you will lose another woman you love here, and blows up the castle. And of course Vlad's fine because he's fireproof, and Layla thinks she's gonna die, but of course Vlad finds a way around it by coating her in his aura. There's really no explanation for how he does that. He just does, and that makes her fireproof, but it suppresses her psychic abilities. Not her electrokinesis at all, just her psychicness. So she can't pick up any psychic impressions, and she starts getting all worried about it because she's afraid that her psychicness is the only thing about her that Vlad is really attracted to. End of book 1. On to book 2, Twice Burned. We pick, I think, like a month or two after the Castle Poenari getting blown the fuck up things. They're trying to find Zilagi because they haven't been able to find the body, and Vlad is going, fool me once, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So he's not really believing Zilagi is dead until he sees the body, which I'm like, okay, smart. So during all of this, Layla is all nervous because she thinks her relationship with Vlad is kind of falling apart. Vlad's pulling away from her. He's not being as, they're not spending as much time together. He's being more distant. So she's afraid that their relationship is falling apart. She freaks out. Then he throws this huge goddamn dinner party, and she thinks he proposes to her, but he didn't. He was actually offering to make her a vampire, so she would always have a place in his life and in his line, even if they ended up breaking up, because, yeah, vampire marriage has no divorce, so that's why he's a little hesitant about it, because he knows that relationships don't always last. She gets all mad about that, and, I'm in love with you, and she ends up leaving him and gets lots of hurt feels. So Maximus takes her back to the States, drops her off with Marty. Shenanigans go down at the carnival, and the carnival gets blowed the fuck up, and Layla only barely survives because of the last remnants of Vlad's aura that's still surrounding her saves her from the explosion. But now Maximus is there, and he's just like, oh my god, there's a chance that Vlad was the one that actually tried to kill you. And she's like, what? No way. And he's like, well, you did spurn him. People don't walk away from Vlad. And so she's like, okay, maybe, possibly it was Vlad. So now Maximus and Layla are on the trail to find the bomber and find whoever is behind this, which you find out it's this woman with beautiful chestnut hair that Layla can't see her face when she tries to psychically link to her. And during this, Maximus is trying to hook up with Layla, but he's actually being a halfway decent guy about it, because there's one point where they do start making out, and he fully admits, he's like, you know what? If I wanted to, we could totally be having sex right now, because you're in such a bad place that you just want to feel something good. I could take advantage of the situation, but I'm not going to. And I'm just like, good guy Maximus. So they end up trying to hunt down the bomber. The whole time Vlad is on their tails, saying, because Layla starts psychically linking to him in her dreams, and she thinks it's fake, but you're going, it's obviously not fake. Come on. So Vlad is on their tails. Maximus and her end up getting captured, told she's wanted dead or alive, but, more for alive than dead. So Maximus and her, she ends up having to call out the distress signal to Vlad. Vlad and Mencaries come and save their asses, but she makes Vlad promise not to torture or kill Maximus because he's pissed. Vlad is pissed at Maximus because, he's betrayed him. He, took Layla away. He thought that Vlad would do. It's kind of dumb. So they go back to Romania, where you find out that Vlad actually does admit that he's in love with Layla. He proposes to her after she nearly dies again, because every time she's using her powers now, it seems like it almost kills her. So Vlad's like, you have to stop using your powers. So she ends up agreeing to marry Vlad, and Vlad tells her that he still honors bride price, so that's a gift the groom gives to his bride in accordance to what her worth is to him. Layla's a little pissed about the sexist nature, but he tells her he will give her anything she desires as long as it is within his power to grant. So he's got Maximus locked up in the dungeon, so she says, okay, release Maximus, that's my bride price. They get married. Cat and Bones pop up for all of 2 seconds, which is the reason you need to listen to this one before you listen to book 7 for Night Huntress, because these 2 books are happening at the same time, and if you don't, well, I mean, you're watching this, so you obviously don't care about spoilers or you've already read them, that it will, the Layla and Vlad getting married thing is spoiled in book 7 if you listen to that before you listen to this, so I guess it kind of kills some of the tension for them. So Vlad and Layla get married. Woo! Now it's all about hunting down this redhead, or this brunette chick, find out who is she and why does she want to kill Layla. So Layla starts doing some sneaky, using her psychic abilities to try to find who this chick is, who's betraying them, because of course there's somebody betraying them, because this chick knows, and the people who have been after her know things about her powers that only people in Vlad's circle know, so someone's betraying them. Layla does some sneaky stuff to try to find out who they are. She ends up finding out who the betrayer is, and it gets her killed because it's Shrapnel, Vlad's number 2, who, he's moved up into number 2 position after Maximus got the boot. So, yeah, you find out that it's Shrapnel who's betraying Vlad, and you find out it's because he's doing it for this woman named Cynthiana, who was Vlad's lover before Layla, and she seduced Shrapnel, and Shrapnel's genuinely in love with her in the most self-destructive, I will let myself burn for this bitch. They end up setting up a trap for her, they end up catching her, and they go, well, you wouldn't have done this without a powerful protector. You wouldn't have done this unless someone was backing you. And I'm just like, it's Zilagi. Like, the whole time when they start going, you wouldn't have done this without the protector, I'm like, it's Zilagi. Who else would it be? And then, of course, it ends with, it's Zilagi. So, yeah. Oh, and Layla gets turned into a vampire at the end of this one. Woohoo. Because, yeah, Shrapnel almost, technically succeeds in killing her. So yeah, this one, I love Vlad in the Night Huntress series because he's this snarky, really fun character who I think adds a good amount of levity. He loses some of that, I think, in Night Prince. He's more serious, and I kind of understand he does have to be a little bit more serious because this is his story. This is focusing on his people. The stakes are higher for him personally. But I don't know. I think we lost some of his snark, and I would have liked to maybe see a bit more of Cat and Bones there, just to have the other side of the Bones antagonism. Would have been kind of fun, but we don't get that again. Bones is there long enough to teach Layla how to keep Vlad out of her brain by singing really annoying and repetitive songs. So yeah, that pops up, but otherwise Cat and Bones really aren't involved in this at all. The other thing with Layla's powers, they're kind of weird, because I mean the whole thing was like when she was a kid she touched a down power line and she woke up in the hospital with this electrokinesis and psychic abilities, and she's got this big scar that runs up the side of her body from where she got zapped. And the one thing that she's constantly giving off an electrical charge, like all the time. Like, she has to, like, go out and grab a lightning rod to off charge her electricity. But she talks about, like, how she has to do this pretty frequently. But I was just like, how does she not burn everything? If she's constantly giving off an electrical charge, I mean, even if it's not substantial all the time, how is she not burning things all the time, like her bedding or wood, like depending on what her electrical charge is? Wouldn't she be frying a lot more stuff like that? She talks about how she can't really deal with any sort of technology, like not even a light switch. She can click it or she'll blow the whole circuitry. So I'm just like, I don't know, some of her powers are a little all over the place, and her psychic abilities, I think, also fall into that category, especially when it comes to seeing the future. It falls into a lot of, well, that was convenient that she saw that, because she can't, with the past, she can, like, kind of try to sift through memories and see what's going on with the past, which makes sense, but her foresight is very, oh, I saw this, and it's like, well, that was convenient that you saw that. It just, the foresight comes up just very sporadically. There's no consistency to it, so it's just And the other thing I have with this that I have is a little bit of an issue with this, with the Night Prince and with the Night Rebel series, is that this story is about Vlad, and then Night Rebel is about Ian and Veritas. I would say, if I have to pick who their spin-off stories for, this is Vlad's spin-off story and Rebel is Ian, because those are the two characters that we know the best. And plus, with the series titles, Night Prince and Night Rebel, like, the first series is called Night Huntress. It's Kat's story. It's her series. So this one, the fact that it's being told from Layla's perspective kind of annoyed me. Like, I wanted to get into Vlad's head. I wanted to see things from Vlad's perspective. This is his story. He's the character we know and love. But it's all told from Layla's perspective, and I don't know. Layla's just kind of okay as a heroine. She's not terrible by any means, but she just nothing that great about her. And yeah, I think Vlad works better as a side character, where he's there just to kind of be a foil to Bones and be a little antagonistic, and his relationship with Kat is really great. But him as the focus, he loses a lot of his snark and the fun parts of his character, and he gets really serious, which, again, I get it, because this is his story, it's his people. Yes, he needs to be more serious, but I don't know. There wasn't a good foil character. I think the thing is, with the Night Huntress series with Bones, there's a lot more opportunities for comedy, and there are the very serious moments, but there's also a lot more levity, there's a lot more laughter. I think there's a lot more fun in it, where in this one it's a lot more just serious and kind of, and that's the thing. It's like, this one's very just, I didn't have as much fun with it as I did with Night Huntress or with Night Rebel, which I will be getting to eventually. So yeah, Night Prince, for the first two books, I give them like 3.5 to 3.75 for both of them. They're still good stories. I still like them. So for the next, I'm going to do another 3-shot for these. I will be doing the last book for Night Huntress, which is Up from the Grave. And then I will be doing the last two books for Night Prince, because there's 4 books in that series in total: Bound by Flames and Into the Fire. And then I will be going into Night Rebel, but those 3 will be the next ones that I talk about. So yeah, you got that to look forward to. I will be excited to get back to Night Rebel, because I've only listened to those once. I've never re-listened to them, so that'll be really fun to actually do. So yep, that is my opinion on book 6 for Night Huntress and the first 2 books of the Night Prince series. If you disagree with me, that's totally cool. And if there's something you'd like to see me take a crack at in the future, leave your comments down below, and I will talk to you guys in a little while.